Hey guys, so this is it. This is the big finale of the Game of Thrones House of Dragons. I wanted to thank each and every person for looking every week to my Game of Thrones breakdown. I truly mean a lot to me. As we move on to our next part of our content on this channel, I would like to thank everyone for all the contribution and the respects and the comments on my videos. It really means a lot. My channel is there to not only help people grow, but to be very kind to each other, which is what my channel is really stand for. Now let's get right into this. This episode or this review will be a 30-minute review, which will break a rest of episode 8 and then episode 9 and episode 10, which is the finale. The episode will combine as a whole to talk about every single thing that has happened into the show, and I believe that coming out of that is going to make perfect sense to what's the next outcome is going to be about the show. I think the rest of episode 8 was such a emotional one, also going into episode 9 and 10, which to me episode 8 set the stage for the climax of episode 9 and 10. Alright, so let's get right into this. To me, the episode cover depicts perfectly, based on what we were seeing on the previous episodes, which was leading up to episode 9 and 10. We even saw that from the previous episode. We started seeing the greens. Who are the greens and who are the blacks from the previous episode? We saw that Princess Rhaenyra is the blacks, and Princess and Queen Alicent is the greens. Due to the fact that she married King Viserys, she ended up taking the mantle of queen. But that doesn't mean that Princess Rhaenyra cannot be queen, because she is the only heir to King Viserys, or let alone the only female of King Viserys of blood that could rule the Seven Kingdoms besides Queen Alicent's children. So the episode opens up, well, before we continue, we will make some honorable mentions. Things that I think I missed in episode 8, which was a very emotional roller coaster. After King of the High Tide Seas his brother got his head cut off because of he thought that the kids of Rhaenyra didn't have the Targaryen look. That's when Daemon cut his head, because the king, even though he was sick and he was nearly dying, he mentioned that anybody that questions the children of Rhaenyra will get their head chopped off or even their tongue severed. So not only that person didn't listen, he got killed because of that. And then we started going back to like the very first scene where we saw the very first previous king died, where King Viserys took the mantle of becoming the king in the start of the first episode. It went to full circle for King Viserys, because there's a not even the painting, but the quotes and the way the mannerism of the last episode 8 was, which I forgot to mention, the gloomy episode and the emotional tension in the room. You could have cut the air like in a butter, because in the last few half of the episode 8, we saw it's mostly considered as like the last supper or the last dinner King Viserys had, seeing all his families, the greens and the blacks, whatever side you serve, are under the same roof. And it was such a sad episode, because I believe what makes it more sad and like humane is that no matter how hard King Viserys tried to keep his family together, it felt like no matter what he do, what he say, it seems like everybody's mind was already made up for what's gonna happen. They just wanted to give him a final performance, seeing that they're like together. And I remember the king was like, I'm on my last leg. and I need you guys to be more of a family than to hate each other, to preserve the heir of Targaryen. And we saw Rhaenyra was the first person to give a toast to Queen Alicent, and said that, you know, there's never been nobody that's been on my father's side than Queen Alicent. And she hand up and she kept the toast to her as well. So it goes to show, like, she's willing to put her, like, the show depict Rhaenyra putting her you know, her anger to the side in order to fulfill her father's legacies. And some of the children of Alicent started doing the same thing, but and to the extent that they almost like always butting heads. And the king took the mask that he had on his face, he took it off, and he showed like the hollowness of his eyes, that he's not only going blind, his body is deteriorating, and one last thing he wants is to see his family be together, which was a very emotional to me. It was a very emotional scene, seeing that, because it's like, anybody that has family, you know that if you have like a parent that normally want to see everybody be together, and then the last thing that they see is like nobody's getting along. So we saw, once they came back, we saw that when they went back to King's Landing, we heard the sad news that King Viserys has passed away. You had other people in the palace started giving out like notes to like indicate, okay, the king has passed. And Queen Alicent, she kind of was like crying and all that stuff. You know, she really felt like all the burden was on her was lifted away. And at the same time, we saw Rhaenyra married her uncle. They got married, and she was also trying to give birth while she heard that, well, she didn't even realize that her father has passed. But all she knows is we were planning on giving birth, and the birth did not come correctly, and that even brought down I forgot his name, but he's the uncle, which is also the brother of Viserys, and his energy got more down. And I felt bad for the guy. Like, every woman that he slept with, and he trying to like create like a family, the baby either don't come out right. And the last baby Rhaenyra had is like, the baby is like a mixture of dragon and a baby, and it's very deformed, and it had like a tail. So I'm not sure it's because they have the Targaryen blood that it has to be pure Targaryens in order for like they could actually get together. It was a very emotional thing where we saw that it's like the cry of Rhaenyra giving birth while also giving birth to the child. And then when she saw both things didn't come out, it's like one side is claiming the throne and already sitting on the Iron Throne, whereas her scream was like coming not only from her pain of losing a child, but later on how it affects her emotionally, mentally. Her mind was made up. Like, we could see clearly while she did like the cremational tradition, like to burn, like when they say Jacaerys, to burn the body, which is how they paid to their like ancestors. We saw her face, how you could feel the motherly dread, but at the same time, like with everything that was building up to this, and hearing like you know, things are happening in the kingdom, and we don't know what's going on. It seems like everybody that was supposed to be for her dad, or even for her line of succession, people started turning on each other, and they started picking sides of which main family branch that they want to see serve in the Seven Kingdoms, which was the episode felt very, very heavy, like very, very heavy. And we saw like going back to what I said before, how the king, I believe, no matter how much people think King Viserys was like a monster, it's like he was trying to please everyone, but I feel as if everybody had their mind already made up of what they wanted to do if he ever like either stepped down or passed away as king. Because even like Queen Alicent's father he already made up the mind that if he dies, he knows exactly what the next three move that he needs to take over, so that way, that could never happen. Which is even more sad. Like, when you think about it, how sad it is to have like a whole council, and the council is not even for you. They're just planning to see when you're gonna fall, so that way they could take over. Like, the moment he got cut from the very first episode, that's been his time clock, and that's how he started getting sick. And then they even showed, like, from previous episode, like I mentioned, that Alicent, whoever made the potion or the cure thing that they were thought that was a cure to keep feeding the king, got him even more sick. And Daemon was smelling it when they got back to King's Landing, and smelled like whatever they've been feeding him was not right, or trying to cure him with, got him even more sick. And it goes to show that, even though the person that you would have expect, that everybody was like, oh, he's trying to take the throne, oh, he's gonna kill his own brother to take the throne, he was actually the most caring. You may not like his method, because he was very ruthless, and the brother was more kind. He wanted to show that the king is someone that cares. But at the end of the day, the real treason, the real people that's causing the betrayal, were inside the main council seat. Because they don't even want to see a woman be queen to rule the Seven Kingdoms. That's even one problem, because King Viserys only had one daughter, or one heir, and she's the only heir that is pure Targaryen and is of a royal bloodline. So everything's in this episode, everything started coming back to full circle. And I feel as if the fact that in this episode 9 as well, we started seeing, I forgot the sister of the king tides, the sea, the lords of seas, the wife of the lords of seas. She, while everything was going turmoil in the giant palace of, I think, I forgot what the palace is called, but this is where they crown people, and while they have them inside the Iron Throne, she burst out of the chamber and saw everything that was going on, and we saw everybody started going inside the palace, while the kids of Rhaenyra, they started going to like different places, and it's like it was a free for all. And then we started seeing all the flashbacks that was happening. It's like we saw in the like episode 7 or episode earlier parts of episode 8. We saw that when the king, I remember previously when the king was saying that anybody that don't trust Rhaenyra's kids could take it up with him. But we even saw at some of the party that Queen Alicent was trying to even hurt one of the children of Rhaenyra, because Aemon, which is I think the younger brother of Alicent's kids, he took one of the dragons, and he was a very ruthless kid anyway. So the fact that the kids of Rhaenyra beat him up and caused him to scar his eye, because he lost her eye because of that. Princess Rhaenyra was like, father, like, people are still judging me to get the legitimacy of the rightful places of the kids that she had. And Alicent had a rage, like you could even see that in the clips. She had a rage that she pulled out a knife on Renee. Mind you, these two late women, they used to be friends when they were little. So the fact that it goes to show, when it comes to power, people will go the length to eliminate people that they used to really love. So the fact that she got so defensive because of her kids, forgetting that they used to be friends, and even the colors that they started wearing at the parties started accentuating who's who. Even though the tables were split in half, where the green sits, where the black sits, and they were facing each other, indicating, like, you know how they mentioned that this is more of like a dance of the dragons. And all these things came in full circle for Princess Rhaenyra, because not only she has to fight her once upon a time close best friend that she grew up with, but now she's fighting her on a equal playing field, because they're fighting for not only the generational struggles within the kingdom, but the lineage of who should be reigning as king or queen, sole survivor of the Targaryen bloodline. And it was sad because after the king died, she got report from that. She didn't know what to do or say. All she knows is she had to call upon some of the dragons so she could, go back to, leave King's Landing and then go back, hopefully, once these things. But we saw in previous episodes that she kept having the same, I would say, the same dream of one day seeing all some of those events being like a premonition, because even as she got younger, there was no other person to challenge Rhaenyra for the throne, because the father was like, this never happened before. That's why the council seat even forced King Viserys to have kids, because they can't see just a regular one female heir taking over and becoming the sole. And we know that in the original Game of Thrones timeline, that the sole survivor of the Targaryens was due to her sacrifice, I would say, to have more not only children, but the bloodline went even more down, because a lot of other kingdoms rised up and became their own separate cities and kingdoms, and who's ruling them. But there's only one person that could rule, I would say, the 7 kingdoms. So like I said, her storyline, I felt from the first episode to now went literally 360. From her not trying to want to be married, and now having a kid, and now have to have all this put on your shoulders because your father is basically on his deathbed. And now that you heard your father has passed, your friends you used to call friend is now the queen or the wife of the late king, which is your father. But now she's using her kids as leverage, saying that her kids should be reigning. And she even took the dagger of King Viserys. I guess that dagger is where you have to cut your palm to show unity, but at the same time to show that the king is bestowing the blessing that you're next in line. And that weapon was supposed to be there for when the ceremony. I think even the crowns were different, because now even when she went, Alicent went to see I think it was Aegon, which is the eldest son, and she was like, there's no excuses, I really want to make you king, based on her father's teaching, Queen Alicent's dad, which was the right hand of the king, but the king not banished, but remove him from that position. And I felt ever since that day, the right hand has been plotting. Most of the council, the high council seat, been plotting to make sure that he never gets his wish. There was so much. Like I said, this video is gonna be very long because it's covering the rest of episode 8, episode 9, and the finale. It was a lot. And if you haven't seen the finale, as I move on to the mid part of episode 9 going to episode 10, this is a spoiler alert. So if you do not want to hear that, you could leave. So let's get right into the rest part of episode 9. After we saw Aegon being crowned inside the chambers of the castle, we saw that the wife of the High King of the High Seas burst out with her dragon inside the court area where they normally have the meeting, even where the chambers, where the palace is. She had her dragon. She could have destroyed everybody, because I think they mentioned that she should have been queen, but they wanted a male heir, so that's why she stepped back. And when she got to Rhaenyra, she got to the King's Landing, she said that, the Greens, based on everything that she saw that was going on in there, she escaped with her dragon. She could have done damage, and we saw in the future what happened and who made damage. But she said that the Greens are coming for you, Rhaenyra, and I hope you're ready. And she believed in Rhaenyra because she said that out of all the person that has ruled, she could be the first person to put everyone under the one thumb and rule as a fair monarch, because every person that has ruled before her has been not only but men, but there's no woman that hasn't ruled a sole survivor like the queen. Instead of just having a consort or a king, she'll be the only person reigning while everybody else will take commands from her, which never happened. But she's probably trying to be the first to do that. So when she got the news of her father has passed, the rest of the people that was aligned with the King Viserys family, they came to King's Landing to propose their I would say their not betrayal, but their honesty of loyalty. And one of the king's right hand, which I think he was a twin, and we saw that in the previous episode how his brother is a twin, and he took side with the Greens, whereas he took sides with Princess Rhaenyra, and he even took the crown of the king and brought it to her, indicating that he was always the side of loyalty to her part of the family. And he said he extinguished all good deeds, he extinguished all kids that he would have, and he pledged loyalty to Princess Rhaenyra, or so we call it, Queen Rhaenyra. And they gave her the crown, and she put it on, and the episode started coming to an end from this point. It was so cool seeing that, because it shows that not only everybody that was remaining shows that she don't want to try to destroy, but there's gonna be something that's gonna force her, I feel, that's gonna force her to make a heinous move. But it's because when you're so calm and you're trying to keep everybody at peace, but something puts you in a row of now you need to put out your teeth, because it seems like everybody's messing with you. That was the face that I felt she got. She got the crown, and everybody took a bow, because they see her as the sole monarch, whereas everybody else is a distraction, because the Greens think that they already find a successor, which is Aegon, and Queen Alicent's father always wanted one of the children of Alicent to rule, because if he sees Rhaenyra's children rule, they feel as if they will get exiled. So when she got to the King's Landing and she got to the table of court conference, she started asking okay, who and what and how many people that is still loyal to my father and myself. And they started picking out people that they feel as if that owes the family a favor, but at the same time that had long time treaties that they should not break. And she started thinking like a leader. And I feel like this was the boost to show that she's taking the reign, she's taking the mantle of a monarch. And I think that what started shifting in this last few minutes of episode 9 is that we started like I said, this episode was a full circle moment because as a person that she never focused on being like a leader, everything that her father has taught her, she started putting into use. How to command an army, how to command a team, how to budget a team, how to make people listen to you, to not, laugh. So this is the Targaryen family tree. I wanted to really show that one because we started seeing the connection, how the blacks were created. And I think the kings of High Tides, even though the brother died, but it seems like, they had a perfect relationship on that side, Targaryen family. And then we saw Queen Alicent and her 3 kids, the 3 boys, and I think they have 1 daughter on that side. But it goes to show, like, she started like looking more and more like the modern version of the Game of Thrones, because Soul Survivor started really putting her foot down to show who's like boss. And then we started switching things to episode 10. Episode 10 to me is probably the biggest shock moment, and it's very sad too, because it's like you just got into a position of power, but now you have to think hard and make hard decisions. And I feel like she made some hard decisions that not only came back and bite her, because she was trying to make sure that she don't want to rule with like a bloody iron fist. She want to rule where she don't want to kill the people that's in the Westeros town. She don't want to do that. She want to make sure that the main problem be taken out of bloodshed. Like, she didn't want to do that. But Daemon said that you cannot have a kingdom without bloodshed. Like, you trying to make peace out of it, you trying to bring the families together, but what if something forced you to be violent? And he's thinking more logically. He's not thinking about like singing Kumbaya. Like, you have to really think about these things. She started asking everyone to go and send messages. She gave tasks to both of her sons. One of them goes to one place, one of them goes to the other place to, give messages. And we saw that already the Greens were ahead of the Blacks. We saw, I forgot what that king's name, but he made a deal and he got mad at King Viserys and like laughed at the mail that Rhaenyra said. He said that, now that your father's dead, you're pretending like, you own everything, but I already made my decision. I signed with King Aegon. So it started showing that, the Greens really meant what they said, that they feel threatened more to see her in power than to see one of their own, like, in the kingdom. And we started seeing that as things started shifting. And, we saw Rhaenyra, hug her kids and gave each of them the command to, like, send certain things so they could see how. And then they started talking about how many dragons they have. Even though they have more dragons, the Greens have 2 out of the largest dragons, the oldest ones, to, like, combat, the smaller ones. Because the smaller ones are, like, still young. They're still, like, growing. And that was a sad moment as well, because she hugged them, and they didn't have to see her as a mom anymore. They had to see her more as like their boss, and like, this is my mom, but she's also like the monarch. And now we have to not only protect her, but to protect the family is in order to like do the job thoroughly. So she gave him the mail to do that. And then as he got to the kingdom of I think Landing, I forgot what that other place is called, but he met with Aemon, which is the very most annoying brother. Then she started feeling something like, like, I feel that the Targaryen has ability of like danger sense. Like, they could sometimes feel what's wrong. We started seeing that, Aemon started following I think Jake or Luke around on his dragon, And his dragon, when they showed back on how big his dragon is, which was the previous dragon of the wife of Daemon's wife, it was huge. That dragon was very, because it's one of the older ones, and you know, one bite from that dragon, and as he started harassing I think Luke to like on his dragon, he Luke threw fire, his dragon threw fire in the eyes of that dragon, because of like the dragon confusion, and the dragon, he's lost his control on the dragon. So what ended up happening is he made probably the biggest mistake of his life. The one of the sons of Rhaenyra has passed, and that was so sad, because the dragon not only bit him but bit his dragon, and the dragon like smushed, and he just realized that he just triggered the war because he wanted to be arrogant and stupid. Like when you joke around too much and then you messing with the wrong person, now she's gonna come down to full force, because now not only she killed her son, but now it's time for war. And I just cannot wait for season 2, because this entire episode was just phenomenal. Like I cannot get my head around everything. But all I know is now that when this comes back to Rhaenyra, that her son has passed because Aemon wanted to be stupid, Queen Alicent has a lot of explaining to do. So make sure you guys like and subscribe to the channel. This was the finale, and I can't wait to talk about Bleach in the future. Bye bye.